Hello to everyone listening to this recorded webinar, the first in a series of webinars that will be presented by Compensation Analytics over the next several months. We are looking forward to your attendance to what hopefully will turn out to be a series of informative and thought-provoking set of discussions around core challenges within the world of sales performance management. My name is Hassan Mahmood, and I'm a partner with Compensation Analytics, and I'm very pleased to be presenting this webinar, Using Sales Data and Analytics Insights for Leadership today. With no further ado, let's get started and talk about what we'll cover today. In a more competitive landscape, sales leadership must have timely information that is not merely reporting on the past, but there's a need for powerful analytics that will deliver a level of insight and a course of action that business must set course on, moving from a tactical role to one of more strategic importance to the organization. There's a lot of data out there. How do we turn this data into intelligence, or what we call insight? Well, fortunately, in sales performance, we have the fortune of sitting on top of what we call a rich treasure trove of information. And sales performance management BI solutions are uniquely positioned to deliver actionable intelligence. It's a crossroads of where information in your organization sits, where HR, sales, finance all rubs together to provide insight. We will walk through some examples today that will bring this to light. And irrespective of whatever capabilities you might have today, our examples will provide some insight to those green to BI and also to those that are sophisticated BI shop. And finally, we're going to discuss an approach which centers around asking the right business questions as a starting point. So, a little bit of context. Today's business landscape is incredibly fast-paced, in particular for product firms. Sales strategy is fundamentally different than it was even 5 to 10 years ago. Traditionally, we had a go-to-market plan, sales coverage models, which were relatively static and reviewed in earnest, perhaps quarterly or even annually. We often flew in the dark, and we didn't have the ability to analyze and crunch our critical data with the frequency that we do today, and our feedback mechanism was less timely with inferior technology. But today, companies have to embrace a more nimble approach to selling because of the factors we have in the market. There's more innovation. There's an increased number of competitors, and what I like to call the information arms race, where companies have better technology, their data cycle management is more frequent. It necessitates constant adjustment and refinement of our sales strategy. So this puts more of a demand for innovative products and sales models on our organization. This, in turn, puts more pressure and the need to perform on our product managers, our sales operations, and our sales leadership. They require more feedback on whether sales strategy is working or not, that customers are happy, and that coverage models have been set appropriately. It also means that our corporate objectives must be reflected in comp plans from an ICM perspective, which has often been relatively static as well. So bonuses and incentives must support changing conditions with more frequency. We need the ability as an SPM practice to roll out awards contests and bonuses with more agility and make sure we're driving home the behaviors the corporate office expects of the field in the form of proper incentives. So all of this elevates the importance of the sales operation group and incentive compensation. It requires the capabilities to adapt to product innovation quickly. We also must make sure that incentive plans are hitting the mark and motivating reps and reinforcing corporate goals. With this enhanced role of the sales operations group, BI solutions need to be part of the tool set that's going to drive value. And for many organizations, becoming an analytics-driven firm is a departure from the past. But by having a practical approach to embracing this problem, we can start to turn the vast amount of data that resides in our corporate data warehouse and turn it into what I like to call actionable intelligence. We can start with some of the business questions that a sales group may often ask. What did I sell in a given time period? Would be a good basic question to consider because it's so fundamental and has multiple different forms in which you can ask the question. So, for example, as a manager, who are my top performers this month? From a finance perspective, it's what can I expect from a financial outlay this month? And that all is a derivation of what has been sold in a given time period, really. And, by taking this, basic business question, we can gain a very rich understanding by applying two things: the time frame in which the question is to be asked, and the degree of innovation that's required to answer the question. So the time frame is fairly straightforward. We can report on the past, we can provide up-to-date information on what's going on, or we can attempt to predict the future. The degree of innovation will consider whether the question can be answered with known information, whether we will need to combine information to create insight in order to gain a deeper understanding as to why something has happened. So in walking through the next set of slides, we're going to consider the most basic of business questions. What did I sell, to help show how this approach is going to allow us to provide a spectrum of color to help our business. So consider the past. We often want to know, what did I sell? And this can be in the context of a simple transaction report that shows all of my sales as a rep over the past month, quarter, or year. We can also consider how and why this happened. Why did I sell as much as I did? So why did my team perform better this quarter compared to previous quarters? We may find that for a certain team in the Midwest, a new emphasis on customer-centric selling and product bundling that was sort of brought to bear by the sales manager worked very well. This reinforces the need to do more of this across different teams and in different areas. And it gives an indication that management should emphasize the use of this approach in a more broader context. Now we can consider the present time frame. What is it that's happening right now? Often the past is not good enough for this type of information. For example, consider a daily update to some of what did we sell at the end of a club eligibility period. So reps will need information updated as it's happening about the recognition of their own sales and where they stand relative to their peers in order to know where they are regarding qualification. So getting this on a daily cadence or as close to real time as possible comes with a lot of benefit. Now, understanding what to do about one situation and considering what the next best action is would require us to think about how we would take some of the opportunity information that we would have at our disposal and combine it with our existing alerts on club eligibility. So your rank combined with your opportunities and pipeline, along with your existing forecast, may be able, in a lot of cases, to provide some proactive coaching in the form of, let's say, focusing on a particular set of deals in your pipeline over the next 8 or 10 days. And that would be the best spend of one's time in order to make club. So by gaining insight, we can actually provide coaching, which is valuable to the field. And then finally, sales organizations are keen on being able to use predictive modeling to forecast the future based on the trends of the past. So for example, we could predict the level a sales team will achieve for a certain product next quarter based on the information we have about their performance, the market conditions overall, and product trending. This extrapolation can take the inputs of the past and present and create a model for future prediction. To make this information truly innovative, we could better and more realistically create a banded result of what the potential upside for a team should be when we model best and worst case scenarios around product trending in the market. Many of the folks on this call have seen this in the form of interactive dashboards and sliders, which allow us to control variable inputs across a range of values. The effectiveness of these dashboards is highly dependent on the quality of the information that goes into the model and the model's overall accuracy. So departments like finance often are in the business of forecasting for accruals and they have well-developed corporate models that can be used in combination with some of the cutting-edge BI tools that exist today to create greater usage and visibilities of these models across management. So now that we've talked about the framework, let's consider the treasure trove of information that's available to us. It's important to note that the SPM back office is where an intersection of all corporate data comes together to paint a picture of the entire organization's performance. So sales organization data, information about goals, customers, product and product line, sales results, opportunities, and incentive plans all reside here and can help paint a complete picture of the performance of the organization as a whole. And this unique perspective on our data allows us to use and combine information in ways that our finance, HR, and product marketing peers can find extremely useful. It's when you start to combine information alongside other corporate data that we start to yield very powerful insights about our organization's performance. By combining goal, quota, and attainment, along with sales financials, marketing, product management, and coaching, we can go beyond measuring reps by pure attainment and start evaluating them on their effectiveness and results, based on different types of metrics, like profitability, for example. We can start to get insight into the effectiveness of our marketing strategy, the true return of investment on our products, who are most profitable rather than our highest attaining reps are, and whether our incentives are truly working or not. We also gain the ability to measure the effectiveness of our corporate strategy more effectively. Are our targeted marketing programs working? Is our sales coverage optimized? Are we servicing our most important accounts most effectively? These types of strategic questions can be answered when we start to gain insight. So, now that we've talked about the framework and the treasure trove of information and the idea that we can start to combine information in order to gain insight, let's walk through several contextual examples of how we can improve our analytics and our reporting. So in this scenario, we're a sales team in technology, and we wish to understand how we can improve our overall sales efforts through looking at our treasure trove of information and considering the framework that we presented. So in the case of improving our sales forecasting and results, we want to start with basic attainment, and we want to have an understanding of where we are and how that is translated into our incentive compensation. So we have the incentive calculations. Our comp system is produced relative to our sales attainment and any commissions, bonuses, and awards that have been paid out. So when we start to combine this information, we gain insight by having the ability to drill down our payments to the customers we sold to and the products that we've actually sold associated with those payments. And if we can do so in timely enough a manner to impact the sales performance period in question, we will gain a lot of insight. So, for example, we may find we sold a lot of a certain product to certain customers in financial services, which would allow us to spot a trend and ensure we move on opportunities in that product group across all of our financial services customers. In the present, we may want to know how much we could earn based on where we are in our opportunity pipeline. And as a sales rep, I may want some guidance on where to best spend my time. So by taking information about pipeline, we now can understand the logical ceiling that we could hope to reach for a particular quarter. And once it's broken down by customer, segment, the stage of the deal, the size, and the products, we can focus on maximizing our time by the opportunities that we have in queue and the stage that they're in. It's in combining all this information we can gain insight. We could provide this information to model our potential earnings and attainment, and based on our performance to date and the opportunity that's left in queue, we can make better decisions about what we should be focusing on. So, for example, a rep who's closed $1 million of year-to-date business and has earned $140,000 in incentive pay may gain the understanding and the insight that based on where they are with their quota by product group, and where they are with their opportunities, their best use of time to maximize their payout may be in focusing on two deals that are in a certain stage for a certain product family for which that rep has accelerated payouts due to them, and that by focusing on these deals, he would maximize his earnings and could potentially earn another $70,000, let's say in the next quarter, by focusing on these particular deals as opposed to on other activity. So it allows sales managers and reps the ability to maximize their usage of time when we gain this insight. Finally, as a manager of the business, we could work on the challenge of improving forecasting accuracy and how to maximize pipelines by sales process messaging, coaching, and training to best enable the selling process. So this information will allow reps to combine product bundles to customers most effectively and apply discounts based on where such strategy has really been effective. To gain insight is about combining all of the factors that we've mentioned: attainment, incentive plans, payments, pipelines, and the sales process and training to work together at every stage of a deal to improve the overall predictability, effectiveness, and results at every level, whether from a manager perspective or a rep perspective. So let's consider an example of where management wanted to understand the performance of sales reps, but to take a deeper dive into understanding our performance beyond simplistic measurements of overall attainment. So we can start by asking who's generated the most sales, and to have it from a product, geographical, or an industry perspective. By measuring sales information at all these various grades, we can start to see a breakout of who sold what. And it becomes insightful when we start to rank the force based on these metrics. By ranking reps on product, customer, and territory, we may find that certain reps excel at penetrating new accounts versus their peers, or that certain reps are good at moving certain product lines. This gives us a fuller picture of rep performance beyond overall attainment and allows sales management to use its field force more appropriately given their business objectives. So once we've established this base layer and we have these granular sales metrics, the next question that might arise is, who would be best at certain tasks? Are certain reps good at particular types of product sales? Are some best at selling to new customers? By now adding customer level information into the data we have already captured, we can start to gain insight into the types of sales situations that sellers are most effective in. We may find a rep is really good at retaining hardware business at existing accounts and has a higher overall attainment than another rep. But the rep B, or the rep that has the lower overall attainment, is good at penetrating new accounts and selling software services, which is really what's in line with corporate mandates. As software sales are of higher margin than hardware sales, Rep B may actually be outperforming Rep A in spite of having a lower overall attainment. And this leads us to the final question in this example. We can then start to uncover which reps are truly having the biggest impact on our bottom line. Often the highest attaining reps are the best compensated. By combining our sales financials and our incentive payouts with our standard sales attainment information, we can start to gain insight into the true ROI that a particular rep provides versus another. For example, we may find that we have paid Rep A $250K worth in incentive for what amounts to $4 million in revenue, but only $1.5 million in profitability, whereas Rep B earned $200,000 worth of incentives for what amounts to $3 million in revenue, but the same $1.5 million in profitability simply because the product focus was on software sales versus hardware. So this allows us to adjust our incentive design to more properly reflect the emphasis corporate management wants from our field force. Bigger payout bonuses for new software sales, less payouts on retaining business. So in our final example, we'll take the case of product sales and marketing. Often, when a product goes to market, we want to ensure that sales management, and the marketing group are all in alignment. We start with the basic question of what the sales goal for the product is, and if the sales model is aligned to meet our product sales goal. By measuring product sales goal, territories, quota allocation, and specific seller goals, we can combine this information to gain insight into how well our sales coverage is aligned to produce these goals. We can then move to see, for example, if we have a product goal of $30 million in the Northeast, but our sales coverage only has 10 reps with an average quota of $2.5 million for the Northeast, which would leave $5 million worth of quota coverage that has to be accounted for. So to build on this, we can also understand whether our goals have been set effectively and are they going to work to really motivate the field to deliver on these goals. So by combining our product sales history and our customer sales history, we can actually start driving our sales coverage down to customer and market potential levels. And we'll have a greater insight into whether these goals have been aligned correctly. So, for example, to build on the Northeast, if there are critical customer accounts that are supposed to provide a substantial percentage of that $5 million. So, for example, we expect to sell $2 million worth of product to customer A. We need to make sure that our sales reps are that their quota represents a significant percentage of sales that are aligned to that particular customer. Finally, when we start to ask ourselves the question of what can we do to improve product sales within a month or a quarter, we can start to take some of the incentive plan design and combine that information with our existing information about product goal and quota, our sales coverage, and our existing attainment in order to really drive marketing and incentives to align with our goals as an organization and to get the right sorts of sales results. So, for example, if we need to have incentives work to move certain types of products at particular customers, once we start to combine our granular quota and our results, and we can measure our attainment and our quota setting at a very granular level, we can make sure that incentives are designed in order to drive the proper behaviors. So, for example, if as part of our sales plan for the year, we want to move a lot of product Y, we can make sure that with quota settings that are at a product family level and with the ability to measure sales at that product level, we can start to see whether we're achieving our results and if our incentives are designed correctly in order to motivate the behavior with the reps to sell that particular product. And if not, then we can make the appropriate adjustments to ensure that that particular product family is going to be an emphasis for the reps and they're going to be motivated to sell more of it. So we've covered a lot in this discussion, and for a lot of the audience out there, you're probably wondering, well, it's helpful to have this framework. It's helpful for us to think about the treasure trove of information, and it's helpful to look at these examples. So how do I get started with becoming a practitioner of analytics and gaining greater insight? And I think it really all starts by asking the right business questions. And too often, organizations start a BI initiative with all the data and making it more of an enterprise data warehouse project. And I'd encourage companies to think about these problems more in a business context and ask the right business questions and focus on the objectives that you can actually make a difference with. And then with the approach that we've laid out, by considering the time frame and whether you need information or insight to answer the question, while leveraging the treasure trove of information that's available, and Starting there, you can start to build the the foundation for a practical business intelligence practice within your organization that lays together this foundation of data, technology, and operations and framework in order to advance the SPM operation at your organization. So I wanted to thank everyone for listening to this webinar. If there's any questions that you might have, feel free to reach me at Hassan@compensationanalytics.com. You can also feel free to link in with me if you'd like, or you can visit www.compensationanalytics.com, and my personal contact information is there. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for their time, and I look forward to presenting the next webinar and your participation in that webinar.